What's the difference for you this year so far? First couple years.
What's the difference for me this year? It's new teammates. You got new teammates, got new people to connect with, to create that new team chemistry upon. For me, it's just about relating to those people. We have Dakota new in the LB room, got Silas in the LB room. So for me, it's all about teamwork. So that's something for me that I'm working on, just in reference to building with my new teammates. So.
Hey, when you go back and look what you did well and what you didn't do well last year, what stands out?
Yeah. Oh, well, what I didn't do well, I'm not necessarily keying in on what I didn't do well, but more so what I have to work on necessarily. And that's how we phrase it, just to conceptualize it in the right way. But for me, it was more so of just being patient, knowing it's a time and a place for everything, as I always speak on, just the tempo, being able to know when to use my speed, when to use my quickness and things like that. So the more I do it, the more I get better at it.
Do you feel like an old veteran now, or what?
Man, somebody asked me was I was on my 8th year the other day, but no, I don't feel like a veteran. I'm still in the beginning stages. I'm still learning. I'm still grasping everything that I can, and I'm still a student. So I don't necessarily just categorize myself as a veteran, but more so as a
I
student.
think you overran some plays by being too aggressive.
Well, there's some plays that I wouldn't say I overran, but there's certain plays I could have took a better angle. We'll say that.
What
How
did
do
you
you
do in
think
the
you're?
off season to improve your game and to take it up to the next level?
Yeah, well, the first part about improving my game, at least, is mental aspect first. So I did a lot of things in reference to my mental, keeping myself balanced. Again, entire life is about balance. Football is about balance. Like I just spoke about, not being able to, turn it on and turn it off. That's a balance. So that's something that I want to master again. So for me, working on my mental, working on my physical, whether it's using bands, working on my explosiveness, my power, my agility, and things like that, and my spin move too. I heard Madden, had me on 53 spin moves, so that's something I'm trying to work on. But nevertheless, that's to answer the question.
How do you think your role will expand in here?
Well, however the coaches wanted to expand. For right now, I'm still at will, still at dime and things like that. So however the coaches want to cultivate me, I'm open to it and I'm ready to do whatever the team asks of me.
Joe talked about maybe using you more in coverage and more in blitz. Do you feel like that's something you can do, be more comfortable in because you know the defense so well and have a year under your belt?
Yeah, it's like with anything. The more you do it, the more comfortable you feel with it, and the more other people feel like you're comfortable with it. So, as I get better, as we continue with the repetition on the reps and things like that, you'll probably see more things.
Jeremiah, I think you made 2 trips to Africa in the offseason.
Yes, sir. 2 trips.
Can you just take us through that and what kind of a life change is that for you? I mean, is that kind of be pretty impactful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime I think you go anywhere, outside of the states or in the states, anytime you travel, you get something out of it. For me, the first trip was a personal camp to which I wanted to teach the body, mind, spirit connection. The second camp was more so of providing opportunities for a lot of the young men across the diaspora. So we had guys from South Africa, East Africa, West Africa, North Africa, and that was a phenomenal experience because it opened it up a little bit more for the NFL and opened it up for those guys there that are really glad to have that opportunity. So.
How do they embrace our football?
Well, again, I mean, as I told somebody yesterday, they don't necessarily want to embrace anything if they don't see themselves in it. So we, as football players from Africa coming over there, they see themselves in the same light as us, so they embrace it with full capacity.
Is this a memento from your?
Oh, this, I got this from New Orleans. Actually, it was a, but New Orleans is a highly spiritual place and roots a lot of the stuff back to Africa. So I don't doubt that they got this shipped over.
What's the significance?
I believe it's like a certain type of wood. It's not necessarily a significance to it. More so of just style, class, things like that.
Hey, you kind of joked a couple minutes about something about Madden. Do you guys really, follow that stuff? Where you're rated on that? It seems like you do.
No, I kind of joke about it. I haven't played the video game probably since 12th grade. But somebody told me to get a system, so I looked into like the Madden thing like that. So I'll probably get back into it. Hopefully, maybe not, but we'll see.
You talked earlier back in the summer about the holistic side of it.
Yeah.
And can you expand a little bit more in how that has all gone for you?
Yeah, I mean, the holistic side of it is literally what I've been talking about this whole time with balance, not being too tilted on one side or too tilted on another, but more so, finding that frequency where I can literally be a master of many things and be balanced of that understanding. So if you want to put it in a football light, that's focusing on my tackling, focusing on my power, focusing on my speed, focusing on my mental, my IQ, and all of those things contribute to that balance that I'm speaking on. So,
What did you learn about Greg after spending all of last season with him?
Greg Newsom. Well, Greg is a phenomenal player, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal person. We spend a lot of time together off the field, just in reference to just chilling together. Like he just was leaving. He was like giving some of that wisdom, like, joking and stuff like that. So we have a lot of deep conversations, and, a lot of the stuff revolves around football, and a lot of stuff revolves around just everyday life.
You're a guy who's played all over the defense. He's going to be in the nickel this year and play inside and out. What does that say about him that he's willing to do that and he can do that?
Well, again, he's a diverse guy, and that speaks for balance as well. The more balanced you are, the more that you can do, So he's a very diverse guy. He's able to, do a lot of different things, whether it's blitz, whether it's cover, whether it's tackle. There's a few reps that we saw with him in the last meeting that he was shifted over into the box, and he was able to hold himself down. So he's a very diverse player, and, he's definitely looking for a huge year this year.
With a lot of guys coming back on your side of the ball, some guys have already talked about how I feel like you guys can really be a dominating defense this year.
Yeah.
So for you, in your perspective, what would a dominating defense look like?
Well, a dominating defense, I think, is almost a common sense, answer. It's more so just, dominating every asset of the game, whether it's, on third down, first down, second down, being able to cover the pass, being able to cover the run. Just, checking all the boxes is what a dominant defense would look like.
What's it been like to try to work with Deshaun Watson and defend against him, and then just corollary to that, obviously, is the uncertainty of knowing he might not be around?
Well, we get what we get from him. He gets from what he gets from us. I mean, it's a win-win situation in reference to practicing with him. He's a very smart quarterback, a high IQ. So it's a lot of things that we try to think about, a lot of things that we don't try to think about too much to be able to get better. But for right now, we're focusing on today. We're focusing on each play that we have with him and taking what we can from him. So.
How does he stress? How does Deshaun stress a defense?
Well, I mean, he has his legs, first and foremost. He's a very agile runner, but he's also able to think about something that you may not be able to think about, which all the great quarterbacks have, able to find a part of that game to where, look, okay, I see this repetition, I see this tendency, let me, try to, mix up the game a little bit. So that's really what I think his strength is.
I know Anthony's not out there.
Kids in Africa know who you were?
Oh, yeah. Well, some of them, of course, they're like, we just know you from Ghana. So, and that's, if that's all they have, I mean, I'll be glad with that, just knowing where I'm from and to relate to that. So.
Did you make a connection with any of them, and are you staying in touch or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I got a connection with a few of them, especially from the first camp that I had went to. The first camp was more so, a lot of the guys that I had that first camp moved on to the second camp. So you had to have like a pre kind of camp to move on to that final camp to where like the big kind of like lights were on. So, yeah.
Most rookies are surprised by the speed of the NFL game once they get involved. Were you surprised by the fact that they talk about those angles? Is that the part of the game that's maybe surprised you? Not so much the speed of it?
No, not necessarily. I think it was no surprise necessarily. It's still football. From an athletic point, the coaches do a great job of getting us up to speed with that. The only part about the NFL that I think that may be the most different is just the capacity to be able to take in all the defense, the capacity to be able to, it's more of, we'll say, more of a thinking game, more of a chess game. With the offense, there's a lot of things thrown at you, a lot of eye candy and things like that. So it's more of a responsibility to settle down and again, to be balanced like I was speaking about.
I know Anthony's not out there right now.
Where you're at now with last season in terms of the mental side of understanding the system.
Yeah, I feel like that I elevated it in my thinking just in reference to, again, that holistic aspect. I'm speaking about that a lot because that's really important to, my progression and what I do. So I feel like, I leveled up a little bit.
What do you think that can mean for you?
Well, it means more production. As the teammates count on me, I count on my teammates. It means more of an anchor for the defense, them being an anchor for me. So it's always a two-way streak. It's always a polarity. So.
Some players talk about that thinking in his rookie kind of slows him down when they're on the field, but you were moving so fast. Did you feel like it slowed you down at all, having to think about that eye candy and stuff like that?
No, so that's something that I didn't want to think about. Even though it's eye candy, I'm still move fast, and if I make a mistake, I'm gonna make it fast. So that's something that the coaches definitely hark on. just in reference to rookies coming in, younger guys. If you're gonna make a mistake, make it fast, because half of the time, a couple of those highlight plays that y'all see, it's probably a mistake on me. So, well, you know, when you make a mistake, make it fast, and you'll learn from it after.
I know Anthony's not out there right now, eventually will be, but just what type of impact has he had on you, being a veteran, coming in here last year, and you still get to work with him this year?
Well, he's the guy that knows all the terms. He's the guy that knows all the words, and he's the IQ guy in the linebacker room, no doubt about it. He's a team leader, so he leads by example. He's the exemplar. So that's the guy that I look to for. So you know, it was Malcolm and Awok, but now that Malcolm is not here, Awok has become that guy that we lean on to be able to have that type of understanding. So.
Is it hard for you to resist that temptation of maybe shooting the gap or whatever, knowing that you've got the athletic skill to?
Well, it depends it depends what the call is. If it's a call that I can shoot the gap, I'm gonna shoot the gap. But if it's a call that I can't necessarily shoot the gap, then I'll have to rely on instincts. I have to rely on what I already know, and the repetition out here will allow me to understand when to and when not to.
You have to gauge whether or not it's a big enough mistake to make.
It's definitely a gauge. And what's the down and distance? What quarter are we in? What's the score? All of that comes into play. So.
With Deshaun's mobility, how will that help you in terms of this whole summer working against that when you go against mobile quarterbacks this season?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of mobile quarterbacks that we go against, so Deshaun is outstanding in reference to that standpoint. So it's going to be a good routine for us. It's going to be a good lesson for us, a good practice for us to have him, give us those looks.
John Johnson said the vibe is so different this year.
The vibe is kind of different, man. It's more of a swag, to it. I don't know what it is, but, we feel like the confidence is there. The confidence is there, the team chemistry. It's always been there, but again, it's always levels to it. You know what I mean? We got a lot of bonding, and again, this is the first year that we've had like this kind of like training camp setting. We got tents out here. I've never seen these big tents, but nevertheless, it's been a great journey for us, at least from now until when we go.
Everybody was under the same conditions, and some teams bonded despite the COVID protocols.
True.
Why did not Browns last year?
Well, we bonded still, but again, like I said, there's levels to it. One people can bond and it'd be good, and then other people can bond and it'd be great. So there's always, again, if we're online versus in person, of course the bond is going to be more.